Okay, welcome to the podcast. Today we have a fantastic guest joining us, Matthieu Delorme. Matthieu is currently the Global Agricultural Business Director at Seybold International. However, has a long track record in businesses such as Catechna, where he was the Senior Vice President of Agriculture, EVP of Commodities, and previously worked actually on the trading side of the agricultural industry. So really excited to get into it today. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful. So jumping in, the first question, please can you provide an overview of your career journey and how you got started within your field?
Thank you very much. Well, as you said, my field is the global trade of commodities, mainly agricultural commodities. First, as a roughly spread half and half between trading in the early part of my professional life and the TIC sector for the past 20 odd years. And I don't want to go into too much of a detailed timeline, but I think one of the features that might be interesting for our audiences is that I had the privilege of starting really, you would say, on the shop floor in the manufacturing sector, in farms, when I was initially in South America and in the US. I was literally driving combines and tractors and trucks. And when I started in trading, I was really at the domestic execution side, in daily touch with the producers and our suppliers. And I think that's very important because it's helped me tremendously in the latter part of my career in interacting with people and taking sensible decisions, taking decisions that take into account the realities of the field. Instilling trust in people who worked with me, that we had a common understanding of the reality of the sector and what's happening in the field. So I think that's really a very formative experience for me to have started like that. I was really very privileged to do so. And I find the same philosophy in Seybold. A lot of leaders in Seybold where I work now have started as inspectors, have been on ships in all kinds of weathers and circumstances, and it makes them really very strong leaders. So it's also the philosophy of Seybold, and it's when you talk to customers, it's also a very important feature that they feel that they're talking to somebody who understands them, understand their reality. So I think it's a determining feature for me. And the other one is that both trade and the TIC sector, and people often ask me, how does it feel to have moved from one to the other? At the end, it's all about trade. It's all about global trade. It's all about international trade. I'm a strong believer in trade as a purveyor of wealth, as a purveyor of peace, and to be involved on a day-to-day basis. Even though there's some turmoil nowadays in this global trade universe, is really something that is somewhat of a passion for me, and also the opportunity to meet people from a kind of cultural background. So that's how we define my journey.
Wonderful, thank you. So moving on to your current situation then. So what is your current role within Seybold, and what are your current primary responsibilities?
Well, Seybold is a long-established inspection and testing company. I'll come back to that maybe a bit later, but and it's been historically focused on the energy, petroleum sector, oil, gas, and chemical sector, and for all kinds of reasons, strategy has moved on to include developing an agricultural business line, catering to agricultural traders and players in the global trade of agricultural commodities. And I've joined about 4 years ago now to accelerate that trend. So this is the title I'm holding, is the Global Director for Agribusiness within Seybold.
Okay, understood. So just moving on from that then, so how are you collaborating with other teams or departments within the company to achieve common goals?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking it, because it's been a totally new experience for me, in the sense that I joined Sevolt with the function I described, and it was a completely new role in the company. And literally, I have nobody reporting to me. I have absolutely no authority whatsoever over anyone in the company. My role is an advisory role, is a development role. So I've had to resort to pure conviction in order to get people on board to that journey of developing an agribusiness line for Sevolt. And that's been really a very enriching experience, because the people are fantastic and responded very, very well. And once you have managed to, instead of telling someone what to do, convinced the person that this is the right thing to do, and there is potential in it, and there is growth for his or her business, the level of commitment you get from that person is, of course, a lot higher. And I'm glad to say that 2 weeks ago we actually, by now we have a global team of people who are really focused on agri. We all met for 2 days of thinking and to try to grow a consensus on the strategic direction we're getting, which is, after such a short time, quite a nice result to have assembled that team that was really motivated and committed to creating that consensus. And then we now have even more clarity on where we're going together. So it's been, from a management standpoint and a working relationship standpoint, a very enriching experience. And I think the Sevolt structure and philosophy and the people, of course, made it happen. Sevolt is a very, very flat company. And when I joined, I looked at the organization chart and I went like, wow, how this is a very, very long horizontal line with, and the access is immediate to the top, and that really helped it, happen. And it's really a fantastic experience.
Just follow it, just on that point then. So essentially the regions are the ones that are executing on the day to day, and then you sit within a sort of centralized leadership function, which means you've got to be good at stakeholder management, inspiring, bringing out and bringing people along without actually directly managing them, essentially.
That's exactly right. You put it in better words.
Nice. So how does the company actually differentiate itself from competitors in terms of product offerings or market positioning?
Well, I think I've talked a bit about the culture, so that's really different from other companies where I have the opportunity to work. It's also, as I said earlier, a company with 125 years of history, and that means it's just more than just a slogan. It means, first of all, there is pride. People are proud to work in Sevolt because it's a reference in the market, in its core market, and we're trying to become a reference now in the agri market as well, taking from drawing from the same values and from the same infrastructure. There is that culture I discussed. And it's also a very technical company. I mean, people have a passion for the technical aspect of the business. Right. That's really what our clients want. They want to be advised on the product. They want to be advised on what can they expect. They want to be advised on from people who have experience with the product, know how customers react to one or the other parameter of the product, and so on. So that technical passion, is something that helps interact with clients in a very constructive way. Another thing is that, contrary to other, long-established and large TIC sector companies, we have really commodities focused, and that's really all we do. So I think that's also for our clients a strong point, because they know we talk the same language. We're not distracted by maybe other areas of the business. And maybe the last thing I would say in response to your question is that Sevolt is an incredibly data-driven company. In fact, the data infrastructure we have is I don't think there's anything like that in the market. Absolutely everything we do is digitalized. It's on all, dumped on the same platform, organized, and internally we use that a lot to make sure we're efficient and respond to our clients in due time. And for our clients, it's also very useful to have data that they can manage, integrate into their own systems, etc., as opposed to PDFs and Words and things like that. So that's another differentiating factor I would definitely want to mention.
Amazing. That's so insightful. Thank you. So I guess in a broader brush, how do global trade dynamics and regulations impact the TIC industry, and how are companies adapting to these changes?
Well, the TIC industry is very vast. As you know, I mean, it goes from building certifications to consumer goods product certification, across commodities and all kinds of things. So I'll focus on the commodities sector, maybe in response to your question. And you mentioned a key word in the question itself, which is regulation. What are the mega trends at play today in the world when we look around? It's energy transition, which entails a lot of regulation because it doesn't happen by the market by itself is not probably not making it happen fast enough for what the planet is expecting from us. So that has created a complete new ballgame. Another mega trend is deglobalization. We all hear about securing the supply chain risk management, relocalizing, and so on and so forth. So that, in a way, perhaps is a negative trend for some parts of the TIC sector. But at the end of the day, when you talk about commodities, it will be impossible to completely deglobalize. I mean, we countries that produce in excess have to export that excess and respond to the demand of countries that, by their own geographical makeup, are not in a position to produce everything they need of certain commodities. So I don't think we deglobalize the commodities trade in a big way. I talked about earlier how trade is a vector for peace. I mean, as long as that is true, we will at the end need to talk to each other. We need to talk to China because we need them and they need us. Them and us is maybe not a very good way to put it, but I said the rest of the world and China need each other because China needs to import what they import, etc. So back to your question. So I don't think that commodities TIC sector will be too negatively impacted by the deglobalization trend. Back to regulation, I mean, like I said, energy transition is creating in the agricultural sector, which is not the main sector today, we need agriculture to be more sustainable. Agriculture today represents 10% of the global PIB together with the food sector and generates 30% of global emissions. So something has to give. We cannot feed another 2 billion people, plus improve the diet of all the people. The diet needs to be improved in the world today, without growing more product. But we need to do that by reducing our footprint, and that is going to generate a lot of certification need. So I see growth for the TIC sector in the coming years and decades. The food safety also is an increasing concern, and rightly so, with the consumers and with the regulators. Which again leads to lots of services from that the TIC sector can offer to help clients navigate through that environment. We will need more traceability. We need more certification on carbon capture, for instance, on farms, and I could cite tens of examples. On around that. And last but not least, digitalization. Obviously. It's obviously happening and faster and faster, but on the other hand, not so fast. We've been talking about the dematerialization of the trade for decades now, probably 3 decades since the advent of internet in a massive commercial way in the late 90s. And today we are still moving a lot of paper around. I mean, the digital solutions that are starting to emerge still have a lot of ground to cover in the industry. The agricultural trade industry, as you may know, is very, very much involved in making that happen with the Covantis platform. But it's a long way until we are fully dematerialized. So there's a lot of space to progress on that front. Not to mention, of course, AI, and the jury's out on exactly how that's going to play out. So an exciting future, I think, for the TIC sector, I'd recommend anyone considering a career in it to look close, because it's a sector that is incredibly diverse and offers huge growth perspectives for the next decades.
Wonderful, completely agree. We move on, I guess, a little bit to yourself here, and a question around how you define success and how has your perspective on success evolved throughout your professional and personal journey?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, I've started as a trader, as a trainee, and a trader, etc. So, initially the focus was really on the daily P&L. How much money did I make today? And then there was that pressure to generate profits, which is perfectly understandable. Really on the very near term, literally day to day. Over time, that's evolved a little bit into realizing the importance of our clients, the importance of our customers. As I worked in other geographies, servicing clients in Asia, servicing farmers in South America, that interaction is really where trading companies add value. So I started to put a lot more emphasis on that. Of course, owing to the company to make that profitable, but to generate value via service, and that service dimension, which eventually took me to the TIC sector, which is a pure service sector. So there's been that evolution, and I guess a constant in that has been growth. To have had the good fortune to address situations where new businesses or business that were fledgling. I was given the mandate to grow them in a few opportunities, and that's been really a very exciting journey in the Far East, in the trading company with Cotecna, now with Sable. It's a little bit the same with this new agricultural sector. And at the end of the day, what is the most important is the teams you build. Nobody's perfect, but a team can be perfect because people complement each other's skills, competencies, characters, and putting those teams together and having people grow together with the business is really at the end the most important and the most sustainable. That's how you grow a sustainable business. At the end of the day, the successful manager is the one that can walk away without the business being that's what success is in my view. And you walk away because this way you grow also, you can walk to other things. So that's how I would put it.
Nice, thank you so much. So leading on to the final question, you've talked about your career in different angles, but if you had to go back in time and give advice to your 21-year-old self, what would that be?
Well, to summarize it in one word, it would be network.
Okay.
I think I realized today, not today. I mean, it's been some time, but I've had the good fortune of working in many geographical locations, many continents, and to meet incredible people throughout that journey, professionally, but also around that in personal life. The two are always very intertwined. And really, the anybody who has that opportunity or that good fortune should really, today it's a lot easier with the social media, etc. Where I started in the business, how that existed, and to keep in touch with people. I mean, I today I get back in touch with people whom I met many decades ago, not many decades, but a couple of decades ago or many years ago, and who've progressed a lot, and some of them are kind enough to refer to our time together as something that may have mattered in their development, and that's really fantastic, and keeping that network alive, and not necessarily for an immediate. I mean, you meet people all the time, and the tendency perhaps when you start professionally is okay. How can I turn this meeting into something that can help me in my career, in my immediate results, and professionally. And if I can't see that, then I move on to the next person and not necessarily give a lot of time, which, you know, to understand about time management, etc., is important. But in the end, you know, the more people, you know, within that universe of commodities, agri-commodities, the more people you know, the more perspectives you hear things from, the more contacts you keep that, you know, can help you answer a question maybe 10 years later or 5 years later. Or you can come across because you have an opening in your company, you think, that person could be perhaps help me, and so on and so forth. So keeping that network alive and growing it, again, not easier today, but it's something that is tremendously important. At the end of the day, we can have teams, we can have AI, we can have, and we do have all these tools, and we should use them, and we do use them more and more. But the human contact is what makes things happen, and then we can use the tools, but that will never disappear. And that network is for me a key success factor for any career in the international trade, commodities or otherwise, for that matter, today, or even in any trade, maybe, because the world is still a global market, no matter what may be happening on the short term.
Could not agree any more with that statement. So yeah, just want to say thank you so much for coming on and giving your time to go into detail. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very, very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Thanks, Matthieu.